Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the quarterfinals of DreamHack Bucharest. We already know Innovation is going to be in the semifinal, and the person who will be facing him is the winner of this match. Now, we've told you that this is one of the most stacked tournaments to date, and these two players are great evidence of that. One of them maintained over a 90% win rate in the Terran vs. Terran matchup and was a top 8 finisher in WCS Season 1. The other holds 2 GSL championship titles, and they're going to be battling today for a chance to face Innovation in the semifinal. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, your next two competitors, Millennium's ForGG and Acer's MMA. Gentlemen, welcome to the stage. MMA, I want to begin by asking you, for a long time we haven't really gotten the chance to see you much on the main stage. Has it been hard recovering from what a lot of people were calling a big slump for you?
되게 여기 메인 스테이지에서 문정원 선수를 봤는지 많은 사람들이 좀 오래됐다고 하는데 이제 다시 극복하는 모습이 보이는 것 같은데 그거에 대해서 좀 얘기해 주세요.
앞으로 좋은 모습 많이 보여드릴게요.
I'll just continue to show even better forms of myself.
We always like that show of confidence before this match. Now, of course, MMA has been showing great results across the board as of late. Your opponent is ForGG, who's known to be a real master in the Terran vs. Terran matchup. Did you prepare anything special for this match? Is there something we have to look forward to?
이제 상대가 박지수 선수인데 박지수 선수 태태전이 엄청 잘하는 선수인데 그것 때문에 뭐 특별하게 준비한 게 있으세요?
그냥 평소 하던 대로 할 생각이고요. 뭐 잘해서 딱히 뭐 준비한 그런 건 없어요.
You know, I'm just gonna play as I always do. There's nothing really that I prepared specifically for him. I'm just gonna play my TBT.
You know, I'm excited to hear that, MMA. I've always been a huge fan of yours, and of course, seeing you win live at BlizzCon versus MVP, and now being here up on the main stage, again, it's a real treat. Best of luck to you, and of course, ForGG, we're gonna do the positional swap. Sue, bam. That was on the spot. Now, ForGG, you had a really deep run in Season 1 of WCS. Season 2, you had a fairly early elimination, so a lot of people know how important a win here is for you in terms of WCS points. Is that adding any extra pressure for you heading into this match versus MMA?
WCS 시즌 1 때는 되게 오래 갔고 WCS 시즌 2는 좀 아쉽게 일찍 탈락했지만 그래서 이번 여기서 우승하는 게 더욱더 WCS 포인트 따기 위해서 더 좀 중요하잖아요. 그런 것 때문에 여기서 이기는 게 더 부담 받으세요?
No, I don't care WCS point, but this DreamHack, so many fans and so good stage, so I'm so much nervous.
And of course, we all have to ask, you're known as a sniper in TVT with an amazing win rate. Do you have what it takes to take down MMA in this series?
태태전을 엄청 잘하는 것을 모든 사람들이 알고 있는데 문정원 선수를 이길 수 있을 것 같으세요?
Yes, my best is TVT, so I think I will beat MMA, maybe.
Well, best of luck, players. You may now head to your booth. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get quarterfinal match number 2 underway. Throwing it on over to you, Apollo and Artosis.
Thank you, Day9 and Smix. Here we are, Apollo, the second match in this round of 8, and it is a doozy. These guys, both big-time champions. ForGG from StarCraft 1, MMA. He's a Triple Crown winner. He's won in North America, in Europe, and in Korea.
Yeah, MMA is a champion, a former massive champion, but he has had, as mentioned just now, a bit of a struggle over the last couple of years. In 2011, he was one of the highest earning Terran players. In 2012, he was a shadow of his former self. And 2013, he's really started to make that recovery. He's been playing in the World Championship Series in Europe, in the Europe Premier League, and he's been doing better and better. And then he arrived at DreamHack Bucharest, and he has brought out some amazing performances to warrant where he is right now.
Well, he's actually already killed some great players so far in this tournament. He's taken out Avenge, an underdog here, but a very strong Protoss indeed. He's taken out a lot of great Terrans on the way as well. Do you think he has what it takes, though, to take out ForGG, a Terran versus Terran master?
That's the case, though, because ForGG is so good at this matchup. As Day9 mentioned, he used to have a 90% win record in this matchup. It's still good. It's like 87%, which isn't too far off. But I have to put this in favor of ForGG still. It's his matchup. He's more confident in it than anybody I've ever seen. And I really think that if the nerves don't get to him, as he mentioned, he had been on such a stage, then this could easily be his game and his semi-final to move on towards.
Well, I think there's a decent chance, but, you know, ForGG very oftentimes likes to use mech. And while mech is absolutely fantastic, MMA is one of the big mech killers with Bio. He really knows how to use his units, move them around the map, and get cost efficient against mech.
Do you think that's, I mean, have you seen ForGG's playstyle and how he plays it out? And do you think that it will be a good style to go up against MMA, who, as mentioned, has beaten Flash 2-0, Ryung 2-0 at this tournament?
Well, you know me, Apollo. I always think it's a good style to use against anyone, but if there's two players in the world that's going to be hard to use that against, it's Tasia and MMA, both of which are in this round of 8.
Well, these two players know each other so well. They've played against each other multiple times in online team cups. They, of course, play for two dominant European teams, Millennium and Acer. They've met many a time, and it really has been very back and forth with who wins the majority. So now it comes down to this best of 3 on stage in front of a live audience, in front of thousands of people at home watching as well. And this is where it truly matters. This is an important game. As mentioned, there's WCS points, there's prize money on the line, and there's the chance that neither of them have at the moment to play at the DreamHack Winter Finals, to join Innovation, to join Jadong, to join Lenok in November.
I tell you what, that is one stacked tournament. No, no doubt about it, Apollo. Cannot wait for that DreamHack Finals, but you know, this one, so stacked. You know, we've heard Day9 say that. We've said that ourselves, but just to throw it out there once more and kind of clarify, we've never had quite a lineup of Koreans at a foreigner event like this.
That's right. This tournament has been one of a kind, and it continues to be so because we already have the #1 ranked player in the semi-finals waiting for the winner of this match. And that is going to mean we're going to have a good couple of Terran versus Terran games upcoming. And then we have Tasia, DreamHack Valencia's champion from last year, is here again to try to do well, to try to push himself forward to another title in a different country at a different DreamHack event. He could become, alongside his teammate, the second double DreamHack champion.
And I think that's almost kind of likely. Tasia is playing so superbly lately. He might be, you know, you could call him the best Terran in the world and it wouldn't be far off at most. You know, it's he's just so good and he's so strong in that TVT, and mostly Terrans left in this tournament.
That's right, and we saw Tasia throughout this tournament. We've seen him last night in the SC2L finals as well. Definitely a player to look forward to watching, and he'll be playing after we get through with this best of 3. This is going to be a good one. The first map we're going to go into is Neoplanet S. I don't know which way this is going to go. I think it may be in favor of ForGG, but the way that MMA's been playing recently, there's been question marks above so many people's heads. Is he back to what he used to be? I don't think he's there yet, but he is definitely on the highway to get there.
He certainly is, but this is a victory he's going to need. You know, we aren't going to remember next year that he made top 8. It's not good enough. We need to see MMA make a top 4, a top 2, or maybe finally win another big event.
Well, this could be his tournament if he's able to push through ForGG, because to be honest, ForGG probably has a bit of a better Terran versus Terran game than Innovation, unless we see Innovation just go crazy and dominate everything. So this is going to be an important game for both sides. Who is going to be the second Flaming finalist? Because that is what we are here to find out, Autosis, and it begins now.
Here we go. In the top right of Neoplanet S from Millennium, it is ForGG.
And he will go head-to-head in this best of 3 versus a former double champion in the GSL. He is the blue Terran. He plays for Team Mesa. He is MMA.
He's been through a lot in his career already, but it seems like everything is calming down. No more turmoil for MMA. Starting to play his supreme, superb game once again. And I am just so excited to see how he opens up here, Apollo. Is he going to go for early aggression or back up into a macro game?
Well, the styles that MMA's been bringing into the tournament so far this weekend have been Banshee play nice and early. We all know that MMA is a very fast player. He loves to be able to micro and outplay his opponent with units that can maximize damage. And another style is just very reactionary at the same time. But we do have a 12 gas coming down from MMA, and it looks like he is going to be going over to a Reaper opening here, and a 13 gas thrown down here by ForGG. Not too much difference, but what 12 and 13 is obviously a number difference, but what is the main differences we're going to see with their builds and openings from this point?
Well, I would definitely say that MMA more likely to end up getting a factory at some point. He's going to have a little bit more gas, a little bit less minerals. And, you know, it's just the way that he wants to open here. He's a very old school StarCraft 2 player. You know, ForGG is 2, but he switched to StarCraft 2 a little bit later. So MMA is more reminiscent of the days where you always went for that quick gas and always went for units like Banshees in the early game.
Well, Reaper is going to come out here from MMA. I don't think he'd decide to throw down a second barracks. It is an option, though. We do see that come out sometimes, but we'll see if he decides that. From here on out, though, Factory is probably going to be the follow-up from both sides here. Whether they'll be defensive or aggressive, I'm not too sure.
Well, let's see here. Factory goes down actually first for ForGG. MMA looking more like he may want to go ahead and grab a command center pretty quickly.
That seems to be the follow-up here. Still got 3 in gas, and he is going to throw down that command center inside the main base. A second gas has been taken here by ForGG, so barracks, then factory, then second gas. And that is going to delay his command center for a very, very long time. It really depends now where he wants to throw the gas. Is it Cloak? Is it a Banshee without it? Is it tank production?
I would certainly guess that he's going to go for Cloak. But the thing is, in Terran vs. Terran, depending upon what your opponent scouts and how you think they'll react, you change your plan on the fly all the time.
That's right, and with MMA going in and seeing the double gas and seeing that he has a command center on the way and his opponent doesn't, it's very simple, the play style that we're going to see from both sides. MMA will play the defensive player. He's got a second refinery coming in, and I'm pretty sure this is going to head towards a Raven instead of scans, instead of an engineering bay and turrets. And then we're going to see Viking, Hellion, Marine, just the overall defensive setup. And as we can see from ForGG, the factory is lifted, the starport will plant itself firm onto the tech lab, and the Cloak Banshee, it will begin.
It will indeed, Apollo. Do you think that ForGG is going to follow this up, though, with an expansion of his own? Or will he try to inflict a lot of damage to the Banshee and follow up with siege tanks and Marines?
Well, I think that, I mean, the usual is to go for an expansion, but he's just thrown down a reactor onto the factory, which confuses me a little bit here, because with a reactor on the factory, that's going to be spending a lot of his minerals, but I would still suggest that probably we'll see a command center come down.
I think you're right about that. And in fact, he does throw it down just now. But with that reactor, he's going to have a lot of options. Of course, he can throw it onto the starport rather quickly. He can throw down a barracks there, or he can even start producing a lot of Hellions, which actually combo pretty well with the Banshee in the early game, being able to take out Marines.
Well, we don't have a Tetlab on the starport of MMA, who's decided to spend the double gas here on Mines. Mines is a little bit of a riskier option. You're going to have to really rely on the Banshee, of course, going over the mine. But so far, he is set up with turrets spread across. Vikings on the way as well.
Ooh,
look at this.
Is he going to go over that mine, Apollo? And it looks like he is. The mine connects. And that Banshee has taken too much damage already.
One hit from a Viking, and that's a goner. Cloak is not ready either so far. MMA's defense has been pretty solid. He actually cancels Cloak there. No, it completed. I always get tricked. I see it, and I'm like, oh my god, he cancelled it. Completed Cloak there, but he really needs to do some damage with these Banshees. Otherwise, he is playing from a bit of a deficit when it comes to his economy.
Certainly. There's no question about that. And with the 3 turrets, the couple Widow Mines, the fact that MMA is grabbing a quick Raven, I doubt that these Banshees are going to do very much right now. But they combo well with Mech, which is exactly what ForGG is going for.
The Banshee. This second Banshee's going to poke in. Cloak is activated. There is an SCV, but there's also a turret there, and it does get pushed back. And a Viking as well. Oh, and another mine out in the open, but so far so good from MMA's defense. And he does take a 32 SCV lead. Over 28 here.
A nice little lead there, and he actually throws up another command center, so he's going to try to push his economical advantage even further.
Look at ForGG right now. He's only mining gas from 1 in each at the moment inside the main base, and he's got the factories are actually building nothing but Hellions here.
And they're kind of hidden to the right side.
Yeah.
That's actually a little bit sneaky. I feel like we're definitely going to see him run out there. And well, the thing is, I don't think he's going to get too much done, Apollo, because we have the 3rd command center on the way. MMA doesn't have a lot of units. I think he's going to stay turtled up.
The funny thing is I've casted a lot of ForGG's playstyles, and I always say the same. I always look at it and I'm like, I don't think this can work. But it happens so often that it does. But with mines, with multiple tanks out already, again, I believe like you, I am not too sure if this kind of timing can work for him.
No, this is so smart by MMA to go so tank heavy early on. You know, ForGG is known for making a lot of Hellions in the matchup. And with 3 siege tanks in siege mode and a bunker full of Marines, he's not breakable. The one thing ForGG does get with all these Hellions, though, is complete map control. He's free to do as he likes for the next little while.
Well, SCVs have stopped producing for ForGG. This is a big attack. Cloak is activated. He's going to try and bring down the tanks to help the Hellions get in there. SCVs come off the line immediately, but I'm not too sure if this is going to work for ForGG, is it? All the tanks are starting to fall down, but so many Hellions get roasted. The Banshees are gone, and MMA holds the front door. And well, that seemed rather easy.
That was extremely cost efficient, and if we take a look at where the game is at now, 30 SCVs for ForGG, 45 for MMA. He has 3 command centers. Yeah, he lost a couple tanks, but a ton of Banshees went down, a ton of Hellions. I don't really like the position of ForGG after that attack, Apollo.
Yeah, he tried to break in, and, well, it simply didn't work here. Great positional and defensive setup here from MMA. And now with 3 command centers and additional barracks production being added on, ForGG is in a bit of trouble now, and he really has to pull something out, something special to get back into this game.
Well, he's getting that blue flame, continuing producing quite a few Hellions. And I think he's going to have to get into some siege tanks pretty quickly here as well, Apollo. He's going to need those because we all know that MMA, he's making a lot of siege tanks, he's getting a lot of Marauders and Medevacs, and Hellions alone can't stop that.
Well, at this point now, MMA feeling confident enough to go take his 3rd base. Once he takes that 3rd base, he can just continue to really upgrade his units, add on extra production, and just further increase his supply advantage. ForGG, everyone needs to look towards ForGG and what he's going to do now. He's got a bunch of Hellions, he's researching Blue Flame and adding on tanks, but he has no armories. He has no 3rd command center. Everything is in favor of MMA here.
It looks pretty all in from ForGG. He doesn't have a lot he can do later on in the game. He's not even really interested in building SCVs. He stopped at 42, which is, I mean, that's fine actually for 2 bases. It's in fact just about perfect for not overspending on SCVs. But it tells us that he's looking to go for a kill very soon.
But where is that kill going to come from? There's tanks around the natural. There's tanks on the high ground of his 3rd base. And, well, currently, even I mean, the air advantage is in favor of ForGG, so he is going to be able to control the skies a little bit. But with so many ground units, 21 Marines and 7 Marauders, and there's going to be a lot more of them as the game goes on as well. Even if he controls the skies, he's not really going to control the ground too well, and this is an attack move coming in from ForGG, really needing to do something here. Otherwise, MMA will simply pick up map number 1.
That is true, Apollo. Look at this. He's only got 2 siege tanks here, whereas MMA already has 4. There's 10 Marauders out with 25 Marines. That is a huge army. I just don't think that ForGG can possibly break through here.
Well, he scans and there is a bunch of units, and this is going to be very, very difficult to accomplish here. How is ForGG going to attempt it? Or is the defense simply just going to be too strong here for MMA, who has 2-2 for his Bioforce on the way? The longer this game goes on, the worse it gets for ForGG. He needs something, and he needs it now.
Well, he's doing a very careful siege tank push forward. He does have that air superiority, as you said, Apollo, so his siege tanks can fire a bit further than MMA's due to their vision. So pushing forward, if he knocks out these siege tanks, he could be okay, but here we go, a big stim by MMA running in, but does ForGG actually have enough?
I don't think so. Auto Tourist behind the army as well, and MMA pushes through. Down go the tanks, down goes the game. MMA, #1 win.
GG, MMA looking fantastic, defending absolutely every move of ForGG.
Well, MMA now 1 map away from getting to the semifinals. ForGG, a timing that didn't work. He's known for his timings. Usually they work, which is why he has such a large win percentage and a win rate in this matchup. But not today, not here, and now he needs to win the next 2 games in a row. Otherwise, it would be MMA to face up against Innovation in the first semifinal.
Well, hopefully what we see here, Apollo, is ForGG taking a lesson from that game and not being too overly aggressive. That was some great defensive play by MMA. I feel like he's kind of studied ForGG a little bit and understands the types of attacks that ForGG likes.
And well, they don't seem to be working, so he's going to have to change things up. Maybe just play a normal game and look for a timing that isn't in the early stages, which threatens the whole of the game. There's definitely some avenues that he could go down which wouldn't risk the entire of the game. If MMA is well prepared for this, this could be a simply 2-0 unless we do see something change drastically.
And you know, it's too bad. That map, I feel like you were right, that map kind of favored the style that ForGG plays. It's kind of thin. You can really utilize siege tanks on that map to a great degree. But he didn't use it like that. He used it as an aggressive map, and now we're going to Star Station, a map that, frankly, I don't like as much for Mech, Apollo.
So if we're going to see, I think that this game will either end really fast, very similar to game #1 here, or this is going to be long. It's going to be really dramatic the longer it goes on, and we could see some very intense games. But I have a feeling inside that this may be a almost short game, just like the first one.
It could be. ForGG is going to have to be careful not to misstep. As you take your third base on this map, especially if you chose to go mech, you are wide open to attacks. You have to have a lot of siege tanks in great positions, probably Hellbats and Medivacs as well, to try to hold on.
And well, if MMA was to play just regular bio forces with tanks, he would look to win it in his traditional style. Medivac drops all over the place, just looking to outplay and outspeed his opponent. And we'll see what choices these two players will make. Is MMA now an Acer just doing so well overall? It would be an Acer team kill semi-final. And MMA alongside Team Acer just performing so well over these last couple of months. Acer really putting themselves out there as a premium team in Europe.
And they do deserve it, as they are now that exact team. Down here in the bottom right, though, from another premier team, make some noise for Millennium's ForGG.
ForGG so many times has been so close, but so far without a StarCraft 2 victory yet. But a player that has 2 titles to his name over the last few years is this guy up here, is the Blue Terran to the top of Star Station. He goes by the name of Acer MMA.
So it is Star Station. We'll have to wait and see what these guys want to play like. I got to ask you, Apollo, because you know, being the premier European caster out here, you get to see so many ForGG games. Does he still like mech on Star Station?
He likes mech in any of the matchups, on any map. But he can't use them in some of the matchups, so he has to keep with it here. I don't know if he'll do it, though, especially against MMA's playstyle. It's very difficult to pull off. What I think we'll see from ForGG in this game is much more of a reactionary style. So I expect the gas to come down around 15 supply. Go for a fast command center. Make sure he's playing defensive, because that's where ForGG, unless he's decided to go for a timing, usually plays in his comfort zone. If we see a fast gas like we do from MMA, ForGG is usually very comfortable in defending against it. There's been so many times I've casted him. Cloak Banshees, Marine drops, Mine drops. He always defends it, and he always takes the lead like MMA had previously. That's the ForGG style that I'm used to seeing.
Well, I think you're just about right. He has gotten that 15 gas, but in the meantime, MMA has gone for gas first. What does this tell us about his build order, Apollo?
Well, we're going to be seeing a very fast factory come into this game. As we can see, it puts down immediately. He has so many different angles he can use aggressively from this point. He can throw down a second gas. He could go for the fast Cloak Banshee build. He can go for mines. He could go for some weird tank push. There's a lot of different playstyles that we could see from him. But did ForGG go all the way? Okay, he did see the barracks in the factory, so he knows exactly what he's playing against here. But I don't think his build changes at all. Well, the reactor comes down on the barracks, the command center will come down very shortly, as well as the factory, which will follow up straight away. He'll play a very heavy Hellion base style, Viking base style, and Marines. These three units in combination together will give him the ultimate defense against the majority of builds that MMA can go for.
It is a great composition to use, and it's one that he quite likes. So we will see what he wants to go for. We do have the command center coming up, as you predicted, Apollo, as well as that second gas from MMA. So it definitely looks like we're going to see him go right up into Banshees.
We saw how well MMA pushed back the Banshees in the last game. ForGG has to do the same. That's it.
Well, we'll see if he's up to it. He is getting his factory. It's reasonably speeded up, and he is going for reactive Marines. So that's going to give him a little bit of a buffer on the rest of his units, a little bit of extra anti-air. And as you said, this is a very safe unit composition that we're seeing from ForGG. But I'm a bit afraid, because we have Cloak going down right now for MMA, a Banshee as well. And I have seen MMA Banshees before. He is very good at controlling them.
They are incredible. I really feel, though, that this has to be a Raven map, more so than Mines. The way that it's so open, the main base, the Banshees can come in from so many different angles. How are you going to cover the majority of your base with one or two Widow Mines? It's virtually impossible. So I really feel here that the initial Marines, as you say, will be used as a startup defense. We'll probably see a Viking as well, and then the Raven once he has 200 gas in the bank. It's the best defense against what he's expecting.
Well, it looks like you have to be right with the timings of this tech lab and of this starport. We do have the reactored Hellions on the way as well. So ground forces aren't going to be the biggest problem, the biggest concern here for ForGG. He's getting all the tools he needs. And
look at MMA. Look at what he has on the factory. It's a tech lab.
Well,
this early on?
This is starting to look like a one-base push. This is something that has become very popular in Korea lately. You go with the Banshee harassment, and you follow up with Siege Tank Marine after dealing a lot of damage, both to their SCVs and to their army.
All right, well, the Banshee of MMA is about to come down here to the natural as ForGG is looking for it with his Marines. The Viking's about to pop out. Perfect timing, and he has scans. So the Marines and Viking together is perfect. The Raven behind it as well. Just the most beautiful setup you could wish from ForGG to deal with this. So he should use a scan here. Well, if he has the right angle, and that's not the right angle there, he's going to let that Banshee get away.
Not quite enough damage there. He does use the second scan and will kill off this first Banshee. And ForGG behind this is getting his own cloak. The counter cloak against Cloak Banshee, a very popular choice as well.
And that may work out very well here on what he's playing against. With just a single command center down for the time being, there's not going to be too many scans if we do see MMA push out and try to expand behind it and try to keep his opponent on one base. I mean, do you think double scan was worth it there?
The double scan, you know, if he doesn't know for sure what this is, if he doesn't know for sure that it's a command center on that high ground, I think it's okay. Because if that Banshee ends up killing 3-4 SCVs, 3-4 Marines, then suddenly the next incoming push might be too hard to stop.
Well, the Raven and Viking is chasing away this Banshee, and so far's taking no damage. The barracks there, well, that's one thing we can look at, Artosis. We are going to be seeing Mech with the barracks on the other side of the map. He spotted the unit movement out here. If he's able to catch the Marines in single file with the Hellions...
Yeah, he has 8 of them, so that is definitely a possibility. If you can catch those Marines, then the Hellions can actually end up beating the siege tanks as well. They really need to be supporting each other.
Oh, wow. Look at these mines as well from ForGG. He's going to bait these units into these mines. They're going to take a lot of damage, and behind it, he has so much splash damage available from his Hellions as well.
Wow, if that mine hits just right. Well, he's leading with the siege tank. Oh, he misses the mine. Moving forward right now, but the mine is a little bit out of position.
Yeah, ForGG snipes that off. He's taking a bit of damage onto his Hellions, but he is building more and more units. As Scan goes down, he finds the mine there. A nice pick off there by MMA and continues his onslaught forward. There is another one, though, but this push is getting a bit difficult to deal with.
This is a lot of siege tanks. The Hellions do come in. They try to start roasting some of the Marines. If he can reduce the Marine count enough, his Vikings can fly and kill the Banshees, and he can take control of this situation. But as of right now, MMA's army is a lot scarier.
Well, MMA does see that mine there, and he is going to scan and pick that off as well. So smart play here by MMA. ForGG is about to face a very difficult time here. This is a very slow, methodical push from MMA, and it is working.
He's throwing up some bunkers. This is forcing ForGG to come out. He's going to come out, attack these Marines, but so quickly his Hellions are dying.
Oh, it's time to die, and there's hardly any units left here. There's quite a lot of damage being dealt by MMA. The Vikings land to help out. 1, 2, and the third tank. Is it going to fall? It's so close, and it does fall. And ForGG, by the skin of his teeth, is able to defend that. But by God, did he lose a lot of SCVs. But at the end of it, look at the count. Look at the difference in SCVs with a third command center as well, Artosis.
I tell you what, it turns out that was a good defense. It looked bad as it started. He lost his Hellions so quickly, he had to land those very expensive Vikings. He did lose a ton of SCVs. But when the SCV count is this even and he's going into mech already having a third command center, this is actually fantastic. MMA on only 2 command centers and so few production buildings.
Yeah, we already see 3 factories ready for ForGG. That defense, to be honest, that was world class. That was absolutely a beautiful defense there from ForGG. It looked scary, it was scary, but to come out ahead of it,
an amazing bust. It's one of the hardest things to do in Terran vs. Terran is to break any sort of entrenched siege tank line, but he cleaned it up, and for his efforts, he's in a good lead. We're watching MMA at this point, Apollo, add 2 barracks to make himself up to 3 barracks. That is a terrible place to be in. He's not going to be able to attack anytime soon.
He scans, and MMA says, oh, there's a third command center, there's already factories going. Oh dear, this is going to be a difficult game for me. And, well, you have to credit ForGG. That was one of the best holds we've seen in that scenario. That was, like I said, fantastic, world class.
Well, we do see another little move out here from MMA. He already has 4 more siege tanks. Now, of course, ForGG, no siege tanks quite yet, but with these additional factories, he can start getting them out. He also has some of his own Banshees, one of which we're watching go right now into this natural.
And he's going to be able to pick off a couple of SCVs. MMA does have a Banshee of his own, though, headed towards that natural. ForGG's going to have to be a little bit careful with these tanks moving across. There are some mines as well, if he's not watching. And that Cloak Banshee getting into the Marines. Oh! Whoa, where's it going to go?
Not the best mine hit. Was very scary for a moment. Nice try there by MMA splitting up. But in the meantime, wow, that is a ton of damage on that Banshee right now, Apollo. That is bad news.
And there's a Banshee by MMA that's also got 8 kills in the natural of his opponent too. So both players trading blows when it comes to SCVs. It was finally picked off there. But look at this, the Banshee remains alive, 20 kills!
Oh my God, this is putting MMA basically all in. GG doesn't even see the point in trying. And ForGG with a convincing victory of his own.
So both players, map number 1, as we mentioned, MMA, looked dominant, looked posed to take a 2-0. And ForGG after that hold, it was so good of a hold that it pretty much won the game for him.
It certainly did, Apollo. There was so much that MMA put into that. He skipped that third command center. He skipped adding more structures to build units. And he needed more damage than that. He just simply couldn't do it. So now we go into the rubber match, the third game, the decider. Who goes on to the round of 4? Who goes on to the DreamHack Grand Finals in November?
And who goes up against Innovation to play for the Grand Finals right here this evening? Oh boy, we have a game on our hands, and that was well welcomed, I think, for ForGG and for everybody watching StarCraft, because everybody wants to see a classic matchup between these two players. And well, the mistakes have been ironed out, and we will go to Game 3, which will be on Belshir Vestige, and we will have one more map between these two players to find out which one will be the winner.
There is not a better map that we could finish up on for these two players, Apollo. Belshir Vestige, very likely to see mech against bio. ForGG, a mech player at heart. MMA, always preferring bio throughout the history of StarCraft 2. Who ends up taking it on Belshir?
Well, I have to, lean towards you, Autosis, Commander Autosis. Mech is a very strong style to play, especially on Belshir Vestige. And I really would edge that in favor of ForGG. But what is MMA going to do? There's players recently that you'd expect to be using bio all the time. We saw Tasia in recent times always using that style like MMA. But in the SC2L last night, changed it up to play mech because he felt it was the better style to do. Is MMA a player who would change his style up, or would he try his best no matter what to make his own work?
I feel like MMA hasn't given in yet to the mech bug. He's always been very strongly opinionated that he can make bio work. And as we've seen, he's very good with it. So I feel like he is going to go for bio play. But who knows how he's going to open? He could open with something aggressive like what we saw last game.
All right, well, here we are. Belshir Vestige, the final map between these two players. And one of them spawning up here to the top left. A remarkable game number 2. Playing for Team Millennium. It's none other than ForGG.
And his opponent in the bottom right, so close to being back on top. Make some noise for Acer MMA.
Both of these players have been working so hard to be able to get back to where they used to be in different it's a different scale. ForGG, of course, being a Brood War champion in 2008, in StarCraft 2 without a victory yet, and MMA being a former glorious StarCraft 2 champion in 2011, both in search of that glory once again, that feeling of being on the stage in front of a large audience. And to be honest, has MMA ever been in front of a large audience, Autosis? That finals.
He's been in front of
the
biggest live audience we've ever had in StarCraft 2 at BlizzCon, where he won the GSL over MVP, a legend in his own right. He's not that nervous, I don't think. I don't care if he says he is or he isn't in these interviews. MMA loves to play in front of big, great crowds like the one we have here tonight in Bucharest.
Both players opening up exactly the same, just 15 gas. So ForGG just going back to what he did in game number 2. And he is going to look at this approach and maybe play the same. And
when both players go for the 15 gas Apollo, I always feel like the game is going to go a lot longer than what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
It's more of an economical build that still gives you some tech to play around with. So while we might see one player get a bit of an advantage after the expansion is made, I don't think it's going to be big enough that we just see the game end suddenly, like on Star Station.
Yeah, we could see this being quite a long one. ForGG did try to scout there. One thing he did pick up was that it wasn't a gas first this time. He doesn't know what gas timing it was. He doesn't know if it was 12, 13, or 15, or not at all. So at this point, he is still a little bit in the dark, but he knows he's not under any immediate threat. He knows that there's no proxy factory, proxy starport, or anything along those lines. So even though he has picked up some information, it's not all, but he's okay for the time being.
I have to agree with you there. We see right now, Apollo, both players getting their reactors, both players getting their command centers. Complete mirror builds at the moment. And in fact, they're going to continue to be mirror builds. I really expect the factories to come up at the same moment, but then we can see where it deviates to. Are they going to grab a second gas? Are they going to add production? Maybe a third command center?
The one small difference is that MMA's put his command center on the low ground and throughout this game has not scouted. This is a very clear sign that he knows exactly what ForGG is doing without seeing it. I'm pretty sure he's saying, all right, game number 1 was a bit of a wacky game. I'll accept that as a victory. Game number 2 is ForGG's element. It's his style. It's what he does every single game. I knew exactly what he would do just upon realizing that that's what he would go back onto. MMA's thinking the same. He knows the same. He's probably not expecting anything. In that regard, can play a little bit more greedy. He doesn't need to scan so much.
Yeah,
he's just completely predicting his opponent's play.
That is a very good point. You know, MMA has always been seen as one of the smartest players in the world. So I wonder what he's actually going to take exactly to. It looks like they're both grabbing starports at the same exact time, both starting their alien production. This makes me just slightly nervous for MMA, though. When it's this mirrored, is he going to be able to actually go toe-to-toe with ForGG, who does a style like this so often?
Well, that's what we're going to find out here, because by the end of this one map, we will have a winner that moves on to the semi-finals, and of course, we'll go to the DreamHack finals in DreamHack Winter. Do we see a Banshee come out here from ForGG, though? Or is he just going to go for the Viking initially? Yeah.
Looks like that defensive Viking. A nice defensive start for him. Oh, he's got to be careful with those Hellions. Oh, he actually loses one. That's kind of a headache for him.
From this position, though, MMA, still without scouting, by the way, all his decisions are completely blind, just on knowledge of who his opponent is, has decided to go for a Medivac. And he will try to do some damage here. So it depends on how he wants to try this. He may drop Marines inside the main base, which is the most common, and then try to run Hellions around the natural to try to get to the SCV line. Both of them can be very easily defended, but if you're out of position, it also may not work.
Well, it looks like he's actually going for a 4 Hellion drop, but look at this. ForGG, also without scouting too much this game, is in position to intercept it. A turn of MMA, though. He's going to drop these Hellions out. ForGG doesn't know. There could be a lot of SCVs lost here, Apollo.
Oh, ForGG did not see this coming, and MMA already picks up 3 SCV kills, 4 SCV kills, and he's going to get even more. And his opponent's SCV count is dropping massively in numbers. And oh, MMA even picks up with one of the Hellions as well, and doesn't lose every single one. And if we look at the SCV count, 26 now. Versus 35 and a third command center.
That is so painful, and I have to point something out, Paul. You're completely right. Look at this, a wall in with a bunker, siege tanks behind. He knows what ForGG is going to do. ForGG has a bunch of Hellions, and Hellions aren't going to kill a wall, a bunker, or the siege tank behind it.
I mean, sometimes ForGG would try to break that bunker down because SCVs that repair it will get roasted, but with 2 tanks behind it, there is absolutely no way he can try this. He's landing the Viking.
Oh, this is bad news right now for ForGG. If he really tries to break this, he's going to lose so many units and get even further behind. Oh, he starts to go and realizes no way, no how is that going to work.
And now plan B must be initiated. Behind this, he hasn't really done anything. He hasn't added on anything at this point. He's going to throw down a third command center upon seeing MMA's already finished. MMA in this game is playing 30 seconds to a minute ahead of his opponent. 1 step ahead every single time so far.
And you know what? He's getting his upgrades. He's getting into this macro mode with that third command center already finished. We do have ForGG grabbing his extra factories, making his command center, but he's going to have to be very careful because, as you're saying, Apollo, MMA is already well ahead. He's up 9 SCVs. He's been just a mile ahead of him as far as outthinking him. This is a hard one for ForGG. He's going to have to turtle for a very long time.
That's right. The one good advantage of playing mech. The ultimate goal, no matter how slow it takes you to get there, if you get to the army you need, you're there. And if he can get to that point, a bit of a mistake here from MMA, as you see, lifting up 2 command centers at once. But as long as ForGG can get to where he needs to be, he's still got a good running in this game. But we do now see a drop headed towards the natural of ForGG, and he could slow down ForGG from trying to get to that position.
Well, you know, I do like what ForGG is doing here. Notice how quickly he's going up to 5 factories. He's not messing around in that regard. He wants to get a really high supply really quickly, and that's going to help him out because he knows that when MMA's macro gets going, it's going to be hard to stop. There's going to be a lot of units he has to deal with. So, you know, that's the thing with mech. You want to get at least 160 supply before moving out against someone who gets ahead like this.
Well, these Hellions pick off a Marine or two, not too much damage dealt there.
And we do have that drop hitting the natural right now, dropping out a few Marines. If he can kill any SCVs, it's a big deal.
And unfortunately, the Hellions are on the other side of the map, so this is actually very well perfectly timed here from MMA. And he does kill off a couple of SCVs, and every little bit helps at this point, even though ForGG does clean it up. That's gas not being mined from those refineries. That does help MMA a little bit here as he does continue to mine his own. And double engineering bay down as well, completing 1-1. And he's going to start 2-2 so early on.
He's even getting his +1 vehicle weapons, which isn't even that far behind the single armory of ForGG. MMA is doing everything perfectly right this game, Apollo. He has read ForGG like a book, but will he continue to do so? Oh my God, ForGG is actually expanding down towards MMA. What do you think about this?
Well, this is it's an interesting choice to expand Autosis.
That's why I want to know what you think about it.
I think that it can work really well because if we know where MMA's most likely fourth base is going to be, is on side of this map. If he can slow push down this left-hand side while keeping the right of his natural well defended, with a couple of turrets or something, this could be a nice approach, but that's a long way away from happening. He needs the tank line and he needs a lot more than this, but look at what MMA has.
He has 2 more tanks than ForGG has at this point. He has a lot of Marauders in there as well. Those Hellions trying to hold the high ground, realizing they have to push back for now. He's got to get some tanks sieged up as support here against those Marauders and Marines. And it looks like MMA trying to break up right now.
And, well, he's trying to break in there. The point defense drone has been put down by that Raven. The Hellions slowly getting roasted apart here. The Marauders are getting picked off as well. And it looks like MMA should be able to just, ForGG should be able to hold this position, but barely. Barely. He lost a lot there in trade-off for the majority with just Marine and Marauders, which is fine to do so, considering he has much better of an income.
As long as MMA isn't losing all his siege tanks, he's in good shape. It's okay that happened right there like that. So he's going to back up with those siege tanks, rejoin with a bigger force, and find somewhere to hit, whether it's the same place or maneuvering around.
What do you think about MMA not getting 2-2? 1-1 finished ages ago when I talked about it.
It's a weird thing that we're looking at here, but he's going into double tank production. He's adding more production on. He's getting another command center. He may want to tech switch quicker than normal.
And, well, it looks like MMA has found a couple of tanks unsieged here, but there's quite a few units here by ForGG. But these Marauders...
Oh, that's actually...
going through.
That's a bit painful for ForGG. You can't be losing siege tanks like that, Apollo. And in fact, MMA retains the siege tank lead against the mech player with 7-4.
That's incredible. And now ForGG is spread really, really thin at this point. Doesn't have too many units. And MMA is going to come in and land another strike. And this one may be too much to deal with. The tanks are down. There's no Hellions protecting them. And MMA, what are we seeing here? Are we about to see a 2-1 victory? He scans ahead of time and he sees there's nothing. ForGG doesn't have anything to defend here.
He is punching right through now, Apollo. We see that ForGG with almost nothing left, his supply plummeting. GG! And MMA takes the victory 2-1, securing his spot at the DreamHack Finals.
MMA has gone 2-0 versus Flash, 2-0 versus Ryung, and 2-1 versus ForGG. MMA, what a performance.
Fantastic play there by MMA. His Terran versus Terran looking so strong. And in fact, he's playing against Innovation in the round of 4. And a superb Terran versus Terran player as well.
MMA could be back to another massive final, Autosis.
Well, that's what he's been waiting for. But what I'm waiting for, Apollo, is a little interview with MMA. Smix, why don't you take it away?
Hey guys, I'm here with MMA after he took out ForGG 2-1. So give him a great round of applause. Now, obviously, as all of you guys know, ForGG is renowned for his TVT, and so I was very interested to see how this TVT would play out. And I just kind of want to see what MMA's thought process was going into this TVT and, you know, what he was thinking as it was going on, because it was a 2-1, it wasn't a 2-0. 이제 이 경기를 하면서 이제 1로 이겼잖아요. 그리고 박지수 선수도 태태전으로 잘하는 것도 유명하고 그래서 경기를 하면서 무슨 생각을 하면서 했어요?
사실 좀 부담이 많이 돼가지고 좀 긴장을 많이 했거든요. 좀 긴장 안 한 티를 내려고 좀 인터뷰도 짧게 했는데 좀 마음이 이제 풀려서 좀 4강은 좀 마음 편하게 할 수 있을 것 같아요.
To be honest, I was very, very nervous. When I did that interview, the pre-match interview, I kept it very short and succinct to try to play it off like, I wasn't that nervous or anything. But, I was very nervous. I felt a lot of pressure on me. So now that it's over and that I've gone on past ForGG, and now that I'm in the semis, I feel a lot better and relieved. But he's not just in the semis. He's in the semis against Innovation, who is not just any player. He's arguably the best player in the world right now. So I just kind of want to see what his thoughts are about that. 이제 다음 상대가 쉬운 선수는 당연히 아니잖아요. 이신영 선수도 엄청 잘하는 테란 선수인데 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하세요?
일단 한국에서 제일 잘하는 선수인 건 확실하고요. 좀 에이서 팀에서 팀끼리 이번에 두 번째 높은 데에서 두 번째인 것 같아요. 처음에 스칼렛 선수한테 맞붙어서 졌는데 앞으로 이런 큰 무대에서 에이서끼리 많이 팀키라는 모습이 많이 나왔으면 좋겠어요.
First of all, I do agree. I think Innovation is, hands down the best player in Korea right now. I also think that, Acers had team kills and VAR in tournaments before. Before I had to kill, I was up against Scarlet before, and though I ended up losing, still it was a team kill, and now I'm up against Innovation. And I just hope in the future we can also have more situations like this where Acer players get to a lot farther in the tournament like this. Now, MMA, I just want to see if you have anything to say to your fans. It's been kind of a long time that you've made it so far in the tournament on the big main stage. 이제 여기까지 무대까지 올라왔고 이제 4강까지 진출했는데 되게 오랜만에 이렇게 멀리 진출했잖아요. 그래서 팬들에게만 한마디 해주세요.
정말 어떤 말로 표현해야 될지 모르겠는데 너무너무 감사드리고요. 비록 제가 4강에서 지더라도 열심히 하는 모습 보여드릴게요.
I don't really know how to express this properly in words, but thank you so much, you guys, really from the bottom of my heart. Even in the semis, if I am, to lose for some reason, I'll keep trying my best for you guys, so thank you very, very much. Give him a great round of applause again. MMA, thank you so much for this interview. Guys, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. When we're back, more of the quarterfinals for you guys.